Joel, do you want me to greet or do you want to just start since it's so late?
Why don't we start?
Okay. I like your
Man,
Santa
that tie is
colored
awesome.
mask.
What's that?
I love your Santa colored mask with your tie. It's great.
Thank you.
Okay, we're live, everyone.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Good morning.
Morning, everybody. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Jenny. Hello.
Where's Jenny? Jenny?
Right here.
Oh,
Caroline Went said hello to you.
oh, hello, Caroline. Hello, Jenny.
Yeah,
Who is that?
that's Caroline and John.
Oh, okay. I can't.
All right, everyone, welcome. Good morning. I'm Greg Sanders, if you don't know me, and I'm the music director here at All Souls. Today's an exciting day because it's the first Sunday of December and because we are broadcasting live from the sanctuary today. So I'm in the atrium and Reverend Miller is in the sanctuary. Nazreen Khan is in the library and Sarah Cannon is in Harris Hall. So we all have our own socially distanced sets that we're going to be coming to you from. And we're kind of playing around with how to best broadcast from the sanctuary. So things are going to get looking a little better each week, we hope, as we start to broadcast here from the church instead of from our homes. It gives you a chance to see the space that we all miss so much, and remind you that we still do have a building, even though you don't get to see it very often. Today's service is called Find a Stillness, Find Your Soul. Reverend Miller will be presenting on that. I'm here to help you with any technical concerns you have. Again, as a reminder, we invite you to stay muted throughout the whole service. Don't make us mute you. I don't like to do that. I don't like to, silence people, but I will if I have to. Also, we want to make sure that you use the chat so you can gab and have fellowship with your fellow congregants and visitors. And we usually encourage you to observe through speaker view. That's usually your best option. Our worship associate today is the lovely Diane Kennedy, and she will be welcoming us after Reverend Miller gives us his opening words. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so very much.
What is it that says you have done well? That asks you to learn more? that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times. It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith and our care for one another. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Welcome to our All Souls Indie Gathering. I'm Diane Kennedy. All Souls is an inclusive congregation where we do our best to live the elements of our covenant. We celebrate the inherent worth and dignity of ourselves and each other, all people, and all other living things. We put love into action by forming community, helping those less fortunate, and working to aid the environment. To this service, we bring our whole selves, including our identities, races, ethnic heritages, gender identities, and sexual orientations. Please bring your full self to this service. There is no need to hide. If we are open, we will find inspiration and guidance to help us live more fulfilling lives. Now more than ever, we need to connect with each other and cultivate community. We will have virtual connection cards available later in the service. There's chatting available during the service, and we will have a virtual coffee hour after. Now, please join me in reciting our covenant while Ben Rahill lights our chalice.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant.
This morning, Reverend Joel will be talking about stillness. In many respects, silence is a synonym for stillness. For me, however, stillness has a snowy, dark, stopping by a wood on a snowy evening kind of feel. Silence to me seems starker, as in the duty to refrain from silence when witnessing injustice. I think that Reverend Joel is going to be discussing both kinds today. I'm an avid reader of self-help books. I kind of need to have some book going at all times to provide me with motivation. Who knows, some days I might even get it right. But just about every book on self-care promotes a period of silence or stillness every day, whether active meditation or just sitting quietly. One of the books that's had a lasting impact on me is one called Miracle Morning. In general, he suggests, and I found, that a successful morning routine includes a period of stillness. So I spend some time each morning and each evening meditating. I haven't developed this very well. I generally can't go more than 10 minutes at a time, and I'm far from clearing my thoughts. But even my meager efforts pay dividends for me. This is what I will call positive stillness, and I invite you to consider how it can and does affect your own lives. Thank you.
Our opening hymn today is a song called Find a Stillness. I wanted to give you a little cue on this. The opening verse is entirely instrumental, so it's a longer introduction than normal, but then the voices will come in and you'll recognize it. We sing it here sometimes. This is our opening hymn.
Good morning, everyone. For those who may not know me, my name is Sarah Cannon, and I'm our Director of Children's and Community Programming here at All Souls. This month, many of us are exploring the theme of stillness in our worship, our small groups, and our faith formation classes. This isn't the kind of stillness where tired parents ask their children to hush. This is a different kind. Sometimes we practice stillness without even thinking about it. When a butterfly lands on us, we might go very still so that we don't frighten it away. I'm hoping to experience some moments of stillness in nature on our youth hike today. Here are some other moments that might help us experience stillness. Have you ever gone outside when the snow is falling, watched and listened? Did you notice how everything seemed quieter, like it was muffled by a blanket? This is that moment again now. Have you ever woken up but stayed in bed because it was very early or you were too comfy to get up? Can you remember that special early morning stillness, or the stillness on a day when no one in your house has to go to work or school, and so everyone sleeps late? Visit that moment again now. Some people feel stillness when they look at a candle's flame. You might feel this kind of stillness when you see a lit chalice. You might feel it when you use the lantern kit in your winter bag or light your finished lantern. Experience that moment now. Maybe you've looked up at the stars and felt very small. Maybe you felt wonder and awe. Maybe you've heard that still small voice inside of you that some of us call the mystery or goddess or God. Visit that moment again now. These are all things you can think about when you need a moment of stillness. You can even practice finding stillness when there's noise around you or your brain feels very busy. Here is something you can try. Ask someone in your house to pretend to be a grizzly bear. They can stomp around the room with heavy steps, growl, and be distracting. See if you can sit with your eyes closed and find stillness, even when they are being a big, distracting grizzly bear. See if you can do it for 30 whole seconds. It sounds very silly, but if you can do this, you'll learn to find stillness even when the world around you is not cooperating. and that will be so very good for your spirit. Thank you.
Is that audible now? I apologize for the various tech glitches. This is the first time that we are broadcasting from the church, and we're trying to use 2 different cameras and microphones. this morning so that all of you at home can get a glimpse of the church and the building and the facility that we miss dearly. I want to lift up as a joy this morning that today at 9 o'clock we met for our first adult forum in many, many months since the beginning of quarantine. And what a joy it was to meet with all of you this morning. It really fed me and nourished me in a way that I didn't even know I was missing. I had no idea how much I missed bandying ideas about with all of you. So thank you so much for joining me, those of you who were able this morning to talk about religious pluralism and what UU means to all of you. So please do continue to join us for that series. We're running a modified version of Crossing Paths this season, and we'll have different speakers on various religious traditions as the months wear on. I want to highlight some concerns this morning as well. I want to lift up the family of Sandy Dreesen, whose stepmother has recently passed away due to COVID, and she will not be able to attend because of COVID restrictions. And our hearts are with that family this morning. Additionally, I want to lift up the Stump family. Dr. Thomas Stump has also recently passed away. He was very fond of the church, and he is survived by his wife. And the family wanted us to know that he remembered us, and our hearts are with them as well this morning. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to reach forward and grab my laptop so that I can stop projecting so loudly as we move on to our meditation.
I'm going to read Via Negativa from a Sonata for Voice and Silence by Reverend Mark Bellatini, excuse me. Not the silence of a child finally asleep in a crib. Not the silence of singers after the song. Not the silence of embarrassed strangers. Not the silence of streets when gunshots stop. Not the silence of rage. Not the red-faced silence of frustration. Not the silence of the exhausted. Not the silence of the gardener gardening alone, but this. The silence of those who have been together and do not need to hide their aloneness with words. The silence of lovers who have come to a place of quiet comfort. The silence of a newborn at breast. The silence of an overflowing human heart under the stars at night. The silence of friends holding still in a long and tender embrace. And I'm not sure at this point whether Nazreen or Reverend Joel will have anything to add.
I think it's a good time, Diane, for us to practice a little silence. The congregation has gathered for over a century. And there have been moments of silence when we have been together and found in community silence, stillness. But why? Especially we're here on Zoom. Why sit at home silent, staring at a screen? But what is community? Except that within the connections we have with one another, the deep relationships we mean to create in a forum, in a Soul Matters gathering, in a religious education class, youth group, but to create for one another a still space so that each one of us can be deeply known and deeply seen in that stillness, even on Zoom, even when we are at a distance from one another. We still need the stillness that can also be called love. Be still, my people, for a moment. Be still. For the love that surrounds us, that we give and receive from one another. Amen. So be it. Blessed be. I did not want to give a sermon on stillness today. This has not been a still year for me. And you know, interim ministers like myself, we don't really live still lives. We're moving around a lot. And we work with congregations that are experiencing change, stillness. What was I going to do with stillness? I'm going to wear a mask. I feel still with that. We're live streaming on Zoom. Should I mention the election? I even had to move in the middle of July and a pandemic. Stillness. I haven't felt still at all. But stillness is the theme for this month. And let me explain. All Souls staff is introducing this morning the Soul Matters program. Soul Matters is designed to give the people of a congregation common ground so that they can have shared conversations, create the still space in which we find the love of community. The monthly theme is for all of us: children in the Sunday school, the board of trustees, the choir, the youth group, the gardeners, the net zero carbon team, the COVID safety team, for all of us here at All Souls, if we wish. 150 Unitarian Universalist congregations use the Soul Matters program, and it has monthly curricula and thoughts about how to do music and sermons and readings and powerful questions. It's a great program. After this service, our first Soul Matters group is meeting. It's going to meet regularly. You can drop in as you like. We'll post the link for you in the Zoom chat. But, okay, so the Soul Matters theme for this month is stillness. I considered changing the theme to Advent. Sure, Advent, that kind of fits for December. And I got to thinking about Advent, and it's the practice of quietly waiting and preparing for Christmas, being patient, not moving around a lot. Christmas is coming, yes, but Advent means a lot of stillness. I was getting pretty annoyed at this moment. And then this story came out of my subconscious. My daughter and my goddaughter said to me as I was on a move from Oregon back to the East Coast, they said, "You're going to drive cross country?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Let's do a road trip." I thought, this is cool, let's do. My goddaughter saw the ocean for the first time. We walked on a glacier in Montana. We slept in a teepee on the Blackfeet Nation's reservation. And we went camping in Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. I was very excited when we got there. It is a park where the humans are only visitors. Humans are meant to observe, not to interfere with the wildlife. The park belongs to the animals and the plants, the insects, the other beings that live there. And it's so beautiful. They are so beautiful. We saw huge bison. We saw bears, moose, wolves, bald eagles, turtles. We saw them, and pretty close, but not too close, because the rules of the park are very clear. Mostly you're supposed to stay in your car if you're on the road, and if you're off the road, you're supposed to keep like hundreds of yards between you and, say, a bear or a moose. One of these big animals gets mad at you, that's not a good thing. So we're driving down the road. We have about a 45-minute drive from the entrance to the park to our campsite. And I really hadn't noticed that there's this very impatient guy in a sports car right behind us as we're driving in, very slowly. A couple cars in front there driving slowly. I'm in the park. I think this is great. The guy starts weaving around like he's trying to figure out how to get around these people. And then suddenly he hits the accelerator in the sports car. It screams, the engine screams, and he peels around us, speeding onto wherever you have to rush to in a national park. So we were still driving, and part of me was hoping to see another moose, and part of me was wondering, why does someone drive a sports car into a national park? And then we hit a traffic jam in the park. I thought that was interesting. I hadn't expected that, but okay. So we sat there for about 30 minutes. After about 15 minutes, as nothing was happening, I got out of the car to have a look. There were bison way up ahead of us. I looked again for a while, and I saw a guy stand up out of his car. It was the sports car, and the driver of the sports car was getting out of it. He stared at the bison for maybe 5 minutes. Maybe he was yelling at him. I couldn't quite tell. He got back into the car, I saw, started the engine, and he revved it really loudly, probably a half dozen times. The bison ignored him. And then the sports car began to move slowly toward the bison, still standing in the road. This guy was going to nudge the bison with his car. I think he wanted to encourage them to move out of his way. He got closer. He revved his engine a couple of times. And that's when the mama bison got mad. She stuck her horns into the car and she flipped that car over. I got into my car, and so did everybody else get into their cars. We weren't going to be moving anywhere fast, and we didn't want to make Mama Bison more angry. The bison decided, yeah, we're going to move now. And they walked calmly and slowly down the road past the line of cars. We all kept very still as the bison walked by. I rolled my window up too, instead of my daughter and my goddaughter. And I swear that Mama Bison, as she walked by us, got one eye on the side of her head. I swear she was staring at me, and as she stared at me, I think that eye was saying to me, go ahead, mess with me. Come on, I'll flip your car too. Fortunately, nobody got hurt that day. So I get this memory a month with a theme on stillness. And here's this memory, and I'm realizing, okay, my unconscious, or maybe the collective unconscious, I don't know, doesn't matter. I'm being reminded from my memory that what I do not need in this time is to become like the guy in the sports car in Yellowstone Park. So, okay, stillness. The other thing about this for me is that theologically, I see everything in the universe is in motion. Where was I going to find stillness in a universe filled with constant change and motion and connections? Even the rocks of the earth, they're in motion. The continents are in motion, just so slowly that we can never see it with our own eyes. Not all of us have this theology. Some of us know there is a still point within all this motion. We might experience that still point as the spirit of life, as God, goddess, perhaps reason and logic. There was a time when I was a humanist kid when many Unitarian Universalists thought reason and logic were in fact a still point in everything, eternal, immutable. I'm not sure about that. I don't think we know that much about reason or logic. I do know that reason and math are universal tools, at least across this globe. And our ability as human beings to understand either are so confused that sometimes we mistake our unexamined biases with reason. I think we do it all too often. Or maybe I'll speak for myself. I do, and it looks like everybody else does. Not that I'm disagreeing with reason. I mean, after all, somebody who's still a humanist, among other theologies. Reason is why the scientific method works. Reason is why the scientific method works and can tell us, yeah, wear the masks. A lot fewer people will get sick. Science works because it has a connected community of scientists. Science is not science until a community of scientists have peer-reviewed each other's work. And that's how Unitarian Universalist spirituality works. It worked that way even before the scientific revolution. We are also a community of peers. We have beloved conversations. We create a still space in a continually changing and moving universe. And we give it to one another through the love and the possibilities we create by being loved and loving others. We give each other insight into lives other than our own. Reason becomes a light revealing our illusions that we're in control of the world, enlightening us that we are often in denial of what makes us afraid, revealing to us that all too often we take comforts, and in taking those comforts, they come at the cost of other people's well-being. So there's a stillness that I long for, and a stillness that makes no sense to me. The stillness of deep connection, made in beloved community. That's the one I long for. The stillness of fear, like the stillness after the dishes crash in the restaurant, if you've ever heard that. Or that stillness when the baby finally goes to sleep. No, those moments of stillness, they'll happen. That's the kind of stillness I was having when Mama Bison walked by and gave me stink eye. But the stillness I long for is the stillness I can only get in connection. Connection with you, connection with family, with friends, connection with the beautiful butterfly garden here at All Souls. The stillness at the end of the reading that Diane Kennedy read. The silence of an overflowing human heart. the silence of friends holding hands, the silence of a congregation creating with one another the possibility of growth, of love, of insight. And we're doing it even on Zoom. I started to understand this perhaps more deeply. I began reading about stillness. There's a writer, a travel writer named Pico Iyer. He grew up in both England and California. His parents came from India. And so Iyer traveled a lot as a child because his parents were traveling a lot. They traveled to India, but they were living and working in Britain and then living and working in California. Iyer saw many places in the world as a child. And this travel, this experience of so many places in the world gave him a longing to become a travel writer, which he did, a very good travel writer. He says, "My job and my joy were one." He saw magical places as he traveled to Cuba, Tibet, Japan, even North Korea. But after a while, Iyer discovered that in all of his travels, nowhere at all is magical unless you bring the right eyes to it. Iyer says, you can take an angry man to the Himalayas and he just complains about the food. Pico Iyer then explains this. I found that the way to develop appreciative eyes was by going nowhere, by sitting still. And he has spent much time now going nowhere in his life. I now have time, he explains. Days stretch in front of me with opportunities. The time I've spent going nowhere has sustained me. This stillness, though, is not a place, even though he has places that he loves. He makes this distinction, and he came to understand it when he described his family home in California burning to the ground in a wildfire. He was asked about that experience, and he said, for me, home now has really less to do with a piece of soil than it does with a piece of soul. A piece of soul. And there is the point of stillness, the reason for stillness. Stillness is not something we practice just to be still. We become still for what comes alive within it. Stillness is not meant to be disconnection, like the crashing dishes. Stillness is meant to lead us into deeper connection. That unexpected stillness we give one another in community opens us in wonderful ways. It happens in the deep sharing of a Soul Matters group. I've seen it in many other congregations. It's that stillness that I knew camping that evening after watching the buffalo walk by. Camping in a wilderness, hearing the wolves howling, the loons calling. So yes, here we are in the season of Advent, or perhaps for you it's the Yuletide. May this time when the days grow short and the evenings grow long, when the snow falls and begins to blanket the earth, may it bring new light to you, prepare you for that new light. In this winter ahead, which will be long, may the stillness of social distancing reconnect you with your deepest self. May you find that blessed stillness in those Zoom calls with your family, your friends, your congregation, perhaps even with the Spirit of life. May this season of stillness remind us the light will return, winter will pass, and we will again know overflowing hearts and joyful souls.
Good morning again, everyone. Reverend Joel's quote about the angry man just launched me 25 years back in time to when I was putting myself through college by waitressing. And one day, having dealt with many cranky customers, I was complaining, and a veteran server put her hand on my arm and said, "Listen, some people just go out to have a bad time." I've never forgotten that. The way that an absence of stillness and reflection can distance us from the people who are right in front of us. And conversely, stillness can help us separate the wheat from the chaff and determine what's really important to us to spend our time on and to offer our energy to. In the chat, you'll see a link to our weekly online connection card, which is an opportunity for you to reach out and tell us more about yourselves, the kinds of programming you would like to see, any pastoral care needs that you might have, and also to find out about some of the programming that's currently going on at All Souls that might feed your spirit. If you're interested in phone banking for the Georgia elections, the runoff elections that are coming up precipitously, then there's an opportunity to do that. If you were excited to hear about the renewal of Adult Forum, you can check off a box there to make sure that you're notified about the times, dates, and Zoom links. There are opportunities to attend an event at the Keffer Institute. And if you're interested in giving back to the community and supporting Coburn Place this holiday season, there's also an opportunity to do that. I hope you'll take a moment to fill this card out now. Thank you.
Each week, All Souls shares part of the cash or donations specifically earmarked and collected on Sunday. The entity designated to get the funds this week is Gleaners. Gleaners is a food receiving entity that supplies food pantries throughout the state and also has a food pantry of its own. I know all of you have seen the news shows highlighting the long lines of cars waiting for food various places, and it's clear how badly many people need food now. Gleaners is a great partner for Share the Plate this week. And of course, All Souls continues to need money too. As has been mentioned in the know, we're going to be losing Allison as our membership coordinator at the end of this month. It's because the funding just wasn't there to continue the position. Many of us are having a hard time financially, but if you aren't, you can perhaps make an extra gift this week. And even if you are, you could invite friends and family to join our services at All Souls, and perhaps they will choose to give. Please do what you can to help our spiritual community put love in action. We will now take time for our morning offering.
I brought my spirit to the sea. I stood upon the shore. I gazed upon infinity. I heard the waters roar. And then there came a sense of peace. Some whisper calmed my soul. Some ancient ministry of stars had made my spirit whole. I brought my spirit to the trees that loomed against the sky. I touched each wandering careless breeze to know if God was nigh. And then I felt an inner flame that fiercely burned my tears. Upright I rose from bended knee to meet the asking ears.
Good morning. Before we say goodbye this morning, I want to bring some announcements to your attention. So please keep an eye out on some communication about our solstice service, which will be December 11th. It will be both a drive-in service and it will also be live streamed. So you'll be getting an e-blast and some social media updates as well about how we'll be doing that solstice service in a socially distant manner that also attempts to get at the visceral carnal nature of what a solstice service often is. Those of you in past years who have attended UUI solstice service with drumming and dancing understand that we won't be able to do that here this year, but there are plans for a bonfire, there are plans for the calling of the corners and a solstice ritual. So we hope you'll join us that day. Additionally, I want to bring to your attention the congregational meeting that will be happening December 13th. Please do keep a lookout for additional communication about that. You should have received an email about Coburn Place donations and script cards online in the last 2 days. So check that e-blast for specifics on that. Can you bring Coburn items to the solstice drive-in? I leave that to the people running the Coburn Place drive. So if any of you can answer that question in the chat, that would be really helpful. Additionally, this is not on the announcement slide, but we are having our first Soul Matters small group meeting directly after the service. So at 12 o'clock. So you'll have enough time or Ollie says it's at 12:30. You'll have enough time to grab some coffee. The link is on our website and we'll be doing a Lectio Divina practice, which fits in really nicely with our thoughts on stillness. Lectio Divina is a meditative practice and I hope you'll join us then. Thank you.
As we go out now to the world in whatever distanced way we can, please do it safely. And remember, when the winds of your day begin to swirl, may you find your breath. May you remember that still point. Perhaps it's inside you, or perhaps it links you to life, to love. Remember, there is a still point, always waiting to welcome you back home. And from the place that still point lives, may you be an anchor of calm for those who need it as much as you do. Go now in peace. Go now in love. We will gather again. Amen.
Thank you everyone for being here today. You have a few minutes before we do our virtual coffee hour to stand up and stretch your legs, and we'll see you back in our breakout rooms will open momentarily. Thanks.